Good morning, Flosstube. It's Misty here. Saturday, March 3rd. Can't believe it's already March. And I have at last made it to spring break. Thank goodness for spring break. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I've been grading a lot of exams and just hurrying to get things done. And I've been really looking forward to hanging out with you today. So this is exciting for me. I have a lot of things I want to share with you. And I've just been looking forward to hanging out with you. So thank you so much again for all of your kind comments that you left on my videos. People have been commenting on earlier videos too. Thank you so much for taking time to watch. Thank you for all the nice things you've said about the videos, that you enjoyed them. Sorry about the lighting. It's really sunny today, but then it kind of gets shady and sunny and yeah, it's doing whatever it wants. But I'm not complaining because it is sunny and it looks a lot nicer out than it did yesterday. So this is my spring break. It's not super spring-like, but it's not snowing. So thanks to Cindy of Cindy's Cross Stitch for the mention. She's been doing some of the 12 days felt ornaments that I mentioned in an earlier video, and she had mentioned me, so thanks, Cindy. And if you're watching, Cindy, your French hen looks awesome. I'm hoping to start the French hen, which is the third day of Christmas, this month as well. So a couple of shout outs, or several shout outs. I'm really behind somehow on Flosstube. I was doing such a good job keeping up with everyone's videos, and then the other day I got on YouTube and it was like there was an avalanche of videos, which is cool because I've got lots of stuff to watch, but I'm way behind. I don't quite know how it happened. So I have been enjoying the Addicted Sisters, Nancy and Laura. They're sweet, love their projects, and just really great videos. Long Dog Stitcher, her name is Janie, and she has really great cross-stitch pieces. She does some quilting. I think she was doing English paper piecing, if I remember correctly, and she had some incredible embroidery. I wish that I had the patience to, and the time to do more intensive embroidery. I used to do a little bit of crazy quilting several years ago, and so I did work on some embroidery stitches at that time, but I've never really gotten into different forms of embroidery, and I really admire it. I've always thought that crewel embroidery is really beautiful. Anyway, Jenny, great video if you're watching. Holly and Anita, I know they've been around for a bit, but I just recently came across them, and I think that they're wonderful. So really enjoyed their videos. And Julie Gulf Coast Stitcher, props to you for getting all those projects that you'd had not finished. I just watched her video this morning, and she'd taken a lot of projects that had been sitting and she finished them up, and they're great. And man, she has a good view out her back porch. Wish I had the beach out the window. Man, that would be great. Okay, what I've been doing, and I think this might be kind of a crazy mixed up video. Like if I could sum up this video in just a couple of words, it would be something like, I'm ready for spring and Easter. So that'll be the more or less the theme of this video. So I finished, yay, the Cricut Collection spring piece that I've been working on for about a month. Actually, didn't expect it to take me that long, but it did. So here is the chart again. And here is the finish. Oh, I'm so pleased. Okay, so I'll give you a stand back view, and then I'll zoom in. So you'll notice on that bell, there's some little flowers. I changed out one of the colors in the bell so that you could see them better, because you couldn't see them that well on the G there with the color that was originally called for. I actually couldn't tell what on earth was on that bell from the picture on the chart, and so it was kind of like a mystery or a puzzle that I was solving as I was stitching it. And on the cloud here next to the R, you'll see there's raindrops. In the chart, that's actually charted to be backstitch, but when I looked closely at the chart photo, I noticed it wasn't actually backstitched, and I preferred not to backstitch it and just confetti stitch it and do the line there. So I did what was photographed, but not what was charted then on that area. And my favorite thing was probably stitching the little tulip there because I love tulips. So I really was looking forward to that. So I'm super pleased. This is a pretty good representation of the fabric here. It's kind of a slightly greenish yellow. Super pleased with this, and not sure exactly how I want to finish it. I'm going to, now that I'm on spring break and have a little bit of time, go look around a little bit, see if I can find maybe something at an antique shop that I could kind of Priscillify this, or if I just don't see anything that's calling to me, then I'll see about framing it. So, yay! I'm just super happy. It's such a cute design, so I'm really pleased. Easter eggs. Yes, spring and Easter. This has been on my bucket list for a long time to make these. Whenever she originally released this design, and this was a Retromama design years ago, 5, 6, 7, I don't even know how many years ago she released this, but I wanted it to make these Easter eggs, and I just never got around to it. So this year I was like, I need to do this. And I had been doing some of her other designs recently as well, so I'll show you what I've been working on. Little sewn Easter eggs. These are really fun, and they're fast and cute. This is a cotton and steel one. And then just got, just different scrap fabrics that I had. And I've got probably 4 more eggs that I'm going to stitch up that are in progress. I was hoping to get them done before the video, but it just wasn't happening, so. So again, these are really fast, they're fun, they're easy. It's a free tutorial on her blog. She does a lot of sewing patterns, really cute sewing patterns, and I really recommend them. So the instructions were great. These are easy. You don't have to be like a super seamstress to do them. The only tip I guess that I have is, this is something I learned from Michelle Patterns. She's also a sewing pattern designer. And you leave an opening in one side so that you can turn stuff and then sew up the opening. And what I learned to do from Michelle is that where you have your little opening, you go ahead and do your back stitch, then you do a longer stitch and then back stitch again on the other side, and then you seam rip that little area that's going to be your opening open so that you can use it to turn, but then it gives it like a perforation, those edges get folded under, and it just makes it easier to seam up at the end. So I follow that, and I found that really helpful with these. I do that with everything now. So these are a great pattern. I've also done one of her pumpkins. I did that in October for a Halloween swap, and I'll share a picture of that here. Okay, and I've also, so since that was a swap, I don't have that anymore to show you, but I also have a little bunny. I made several of these little corduroy bunnies. These are also designed by her. These are fast and fun. I thought I put a tail on this one, but I guess I didn't. I did on the other ones. This one was mine. This was the test bunny. I've made these for babies, for baby gifts. They're pretty quick too, and fun and cute. And you get to use corduroy. You can pick different colors of corduroy. So check out her. Like I said, I'll post a link for the eggs and also to this pattern and the pumpkin pattern. But check out her shop too. She's got a really cute apple pattern and pear patterns. She's got owls, all kinds of things. And her designs are really great and they're explained really well. Really encourage you to shop with her. She just has really nice stuff. Okay, so Easter eggs, yay. So that was actually like a new start and finish the eggs. The rose path towels. So let's go on to whips. This is like a whip / FO. So I finished weaving the rose path towels, and put a little hanging tag. This is the first time I added one to the back. So this is the back of the towel. These are, I wove these in a slightly different 8-2 cotton, so they're not quite as drapey. It's a bit of a stiffer cotton. It's still pretty absorbent, and it may actually be a little bit more absorbent than the softer one, but I wanted to try and experiment a little bit with this. So this is, if you're a weaver, this is UKI cotton in this towel. So this turned out well, and I'm in the process of hand hemming. I hand hemmed this one. I usually don't, but I didn't want to break up the design across the bottom here. So I'm in the process of hand hemming the other towels, and oh my god. So after I wove all of them, I took them to the machine and I zigzagged the edges where the hems are so that I could cut the towels apart without having them fray. So as I was doing the blue towel, I had pulled, I think this was even like maybe the last thing I had sewn. I pushed the towel back behind the machine. I'd sewn the zigzag, and I went to cut the thread, and I also cut part of the towel, and my heart just sank, and I was like, ah. So yeah, and it was a pretty good cut, so I couldn't just easily fix it, and so I just like, well, I guess this one's definitely staying with me, and I just zigzagged that hole closed, and it just has like a boo-boo, and it'll be, you know, hung to the back, and you won't notice it, except if you're me and you're sad a little bit about it. So that's one of those stupid things that you don't ever want to do again. You never really want to do it the first time, but secondly certainly not a second time. I'm still cutting out blocks for my halo quilt behind me, and I have a sewing day with my friend tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. So I'm super excited. I'm going to make some good progress on halo. I've got the 4 blocks cut out for the top row there, and I'm in the process of cutting out, there's actually a couple rows that go below this row here. Those are already done. So I'm starting to cut out blocks for row 7. And then, so I have 20 some blocks left to cut to do the center of the quilt, which, considering that there were 72 of them, that's not bad. So I'm pretty excited. I think I should make some pretty good progress this weekend, and I'm excited to hang out with my friend and have some sewing days. Okay, new starts. Still Easter and spring themed. Oh, here we go. I have been admiring this pattern for what feels like 1 million years. It was probably more like 3 or 4. And this person is on Etsy. She also has like a web page, but it'll just take you to her Etsy shop. So it's called Eweniversity. You can see U as in sheep, University. And she has a few different egg patterns. And as far as I know, you can't really get them much of anywhere else except her Etsy shop. So I had been admiring these for a long time, and I finally picked up the wool to make them a couple years ago, and then last year I thought I was going to make them. These are like a bucket list thing, and I still didn't get around to it, and so I was like, I need to do this year. I need to make it a priority, and since I have a little bit more time this year, I'm going to. So I'm going to pause for just a second. I want to show you some things that came with it. Just a second. Okay, so in addition to, when I ordered this, in addition to the pattern Susan sent me, she also sent me a bonus pattern, which is similar to the one I'm actually making right now, but it's kind of an easier one. So if this seemed a little bit intimidating to you, this might be a good one to start with, or if you just wanted a faster project. And she also sent, which I really appreciated, a pair of needles. Can't remember exactly which these are, but this one would be for your French knots, and then this one would be to do the other embroidery applique stitches. Chanel and something. Sorry, not great with needle names. So these are coming along nicely. This is where I'm at now. I've got all 4 of my pieces cut out, and I've been stitching everything stitched down that I've done so far, and you can see I've got some of the embroidery done on them. And so I think I'm going to skip the French knots and put on some beads. I'm waiting for there's a Fisker's hole punch that she recommends using for a very small 1/4" circle. I have that on order. It should be coming tomorrow. And then I'll put yellow centers here and here. And then I'm going to put some beads around the outside edge where the French knots were. I'm doing this blue egg here. And I think I'm going to put, I like bling, so I'm going to put beads, and I think I'm going to put sequins in the middle of each flower. So that's my plan for right now. These are not fast, and I'm kind of careful and slow, so they're not fast. I've been working on these, well, since the last video. I alluded to them. It didn't really talk about them. I'm using Baldani and Presencia for the decorative stitching. I just used 1 strand of DMC to applique down the shapes. One thing that I've noticed about this, I had some of this wool already, and I've got a mix of some that I bought, this darker pink and the yellow. I bought from someone at a quilt show. The pink was in a scrap bag, and the pink is not as densely felted. So it likes to fray a bit, which is a little bit annoying. Whereas the other ones are more compact and I don't have those issues. So I guess that's one thing that I'll be more on the lookout for, is whenever I can to buy more of a densely felted wool. And just, I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous video, if you don't know the difference between felt and felted wool. So, you know, there's felt, which is like a compressed sheet of felt that may have some wool in it, or it could be all synthetic. And then felted wool is wool that's actually been like woven on a loom and then felted. Okay, so I really like this. I think I might try to make one more either later this month or in April after Easter. And then I probably will wait until next year. I think this is just a pretty intensive project. I would like to make more, but I probably will just do like a couple a year until I decide I've done enough. Really enjoying it. Really recommend the pattern. I think it ran about $14 and the shipping was maybe $6. But you know, it was totally worth it. So I really encourage you, if this interests you, to check it out. And the shipping was quick. Yeah, I had a really good experience. So I would recommend this pattern and this designer, Susan. Again, it's Eweniversity. I'll put a link below the video. Okay, what else have I been doing? That was another new start. And I kind of want to mention, I originally started using her color scheme here because I do like the brightness of these eggs. But boy, it wasn't working for me. I mean, I just wanted pastels, or I wanted something more spring-like. And I kept thinking, maybe if you just keep going, because I already had like the egg cut out, I had all of this cut out, and I was like, maybe if you just keep going, it'll feel better eventually. And then I just decided that was not going to happen. So then I was kind of thinking of more like a sort of cherry blossom-esque color scheme that goes with some of the other eggs and Easter decor that I have. So I'm much happier with the color choice. I don't know what I'll do with the pieces I already had cut out. I'll just worry about that later. So that's my Woolly Wednesday. This was something that Carla had suggested I do, encourage people to do a hashtag. So on Wednesdays, I'm posting my whatever wool work project I have going, and I'm hashtagging it Woolly, W-O-O-L-Y, Wednesday. So if you want to join along, I'm following the hashtag, and I'll look for your posts. You can tag them Woolly Wednesday if you have a wool applique project going that you want to share on Wednesdays. Okay. From the archives. Okay. This is more Easter eggs because I can't get enough, but these are ones I already made. Last year and the year before, I did some Easter eggs from this book by Arna and Carlos. And man, they're so cute. I saw them on Ravelry and I just had to try making them, and I loved making them. So I got more. So I think I started with this one maybe. This yarn is a sport weight. It's Dalegarn Falk, which I think is becoming less and less available in the United States, unfortunately. I did really like working with it and doing color work with it. So I've got, I think, are blue tulips again. This year, last year I made this one. I think I just made one last year. And this one, a chicken. I was really excited about the chicken. So cute. This one, someone else on Ravelry had come up with this design, and I just looked at theirs and figured out how they did it, and then I did the same. So this one isn't included in the book, but I really liked what someone else had done. And then lastly, these two. This takes me, I don't know, it probably took me a couple of days, 2 to 3 days to stitch these up per egg. I don't remember exactly the needle size. I'd have to look on my Ravelry project page. It's probably like size 2, I would guess, needles. So these were super fun. I love displaying them. I'll show you if I can tilt it and not have them fall all over. This is just kind of a little basket, and they're not. There we go. I'm going to find a different way to display them this year. I think with the other eggs that I have an idea of something else to do. So those were a Feral project that I really, really enjoyed doing a lot. And I have their Christmas book, the Christmas Balls book, and I want to do that. There's a pig that I've wanted to do ever since I saw the book for the first time. So I think we'll see how my year goes, because I need to finish those tiny sweaters and other tiny knits. But if I can swing it, it'd be really cool to start those Christmas balls this year too. Whips I want to be working on. This is going to be a new segment for me because I have a lot of whips that I'm not working on, and I'd really like to be working on them. And I decided that this one actually I'm going to start working on this month because it's been bothering me for the last 2 months or so that I haven't been working on it. And it's a crochet project, so I do crochet as well as knit. I learned to knit first, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the reason I got into knitting, or how I got into knitting, is that when I was in college, that's when knitting experienced a resurgence, and a couple of my roommates were knitting, and I kept thinking about it, but I just didn't have time to take it up while I was in college. So after I graduated, I thought more about learning to knit, and I asked my mom to teach me because she knitted when I was a kid. She'd made me at least couple of sweaters. And so I got into knitting first, and the funny thing about the knitting, so the first project that I thought I would knit, I found it in this Vogue Knitting on the Go. They had these little Vogue Knitting on the Go books. And it was this kind of color block scarf. It had like 3 different colors across, sort of like a checkerboard, but with 3 and rows of squares. And I showed my mom, and I'm like, can I do this? And she's like, oh yeah. I was like in Target. I wanted to do that as my first project, which is way not a great first project. So that didn't go well. And I ended up just doing some novelty yarn and just doing basic knitting. And I used the book Stitch and Bitch to help me kind of recognize the purl and knitting stitches and to remember how to cast on and bind off, and that was really great. And I've been excited to see all the people on Flosstube who are trying knitting out now that Caroline has shared some videos about how to knit. I think that's awesome that people are giving it a try or getting back into knitting via Caroline and her efforts. So, okay, so anyway, I was talking about crochet. So I started knitting, and I did not think I wanted to crochet because I thought that crochet just was kind of boring and old-fashioned looking. And I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to learn to crochet. And those are famous last words, right? So I came across on the internet, this was like I don't know, maybe like 2006 or 7, because I was starting to really get into knitting around 2007. So I was coming across amigurumi online, which are the little crocheted toys, and I just fell in love with them, and I was like, I'm gonna have to learn to crochet just to make these because they're so cute. So my local yarns shop, it's a yarn shop / quilt shop. So my local yarn shop / quilt shop, Stitch Your Art Out, had a crochet class, and so the teacher, Laura, she just let me, I really wanted to make this crocheted octopus that Anna Paula Romoli had designed. It was a free pattern. So she just let me do it, and it was kind of a mess, but I learned how to crochet, and I really liked it. Crochet came very easily for me. I felt like I really understood crochet in a way that knitting took me a little bit more thinking for some reason to understand. So I teach crochet, and I see a lot of people who learn to knit first and they really struggle with the awkwardness of being really good with yarn and then having to be really bad with it for a while because it's awkward, you know, and it's hard for a lot of knitters who've been used to knitting and being good at knitting to then sit down with crochet and be uncomfortable and not know how to tension things. But, you know, it just takes practice like anything. So you just have to keep doing it. The thing that's hard about crochet, I think it's a little bit more difficult to distinguish what your stitches look like. And that takes just doing it over and over again and really looking at your fabric and noticing what you're doing. So anyway, it's toys, crocheted toys that got me into crocheting. And then I decided, you know, in my defense, at that time, I feel like there weren't as many interesting crochet patterns out there as there are now. Now it's like you can crochet anything. There's, thanks to Ravelry, there's just so much amazing crochet design available. So I think crochet has really enjoyed a revitalization that's pretty awesome. So I started off with toys, and then I got into thread crochet, and I was doing like crocheted snowflakes and doilies and things like that for a while. I've just crocheted pretty much anything. And so back to my whips I want to be working on is a crochet project. And I started this in May of last year. This is called Mystical Lanterns. This is a blanket pattern, and she also has a design for a shawl. I was hankering to make a crochet blanket, and I have to say that I am not good at finishing blankets. So I had crocheted like a baby blanket. It took me years to make one small baby blanket, even though it shouldn't have. I just, you know, lose interest. And then I'd done another crochet blanket. I got a little ways into it, and I petered out, and then my gauge changed. I had like 3 different sized shapes or pieces of shapes, and it just, yeah. So I was like, if I do this, I cannot take forever. But I started last May, and I was making good progress, and then I stopped. And so I think, you know, this needs to get done in 2018 because I don't want this hanging around forever, and it's really pretty. So what happened is I was wanting to make a crochet blanket. I kept trying to talk myself out of making one, and then I was looking around on Ravelry, getting into trouble, as one does, and I came across this. And this was just like, what a beautiful shape. These lantern shapes are so cool. And so I read, you know, I looked at people's projects to see if this is something I would want to do. I read their comments, and I thought, yeah, I do. The time that I purchased this, and I don't know that this has changed, I haven't checked since last year, but at the time that I purchased this, you needed to go to her shop and buy it, and it was sent by mail from the UK. And it didn't take long to get here, maybe a week and a half or something. The pattern was a very reasonable price. It was totally worth it. I'm really glad I got it. The instructions are very good, very clear. I mean, there's multiple pages of instructions with diagrams and photos. So I mean, it's absolutely worth the price, and it's a great design, and I only wish I'd thought of it because it's brilliant. So without further ado, this is part of it. I've got more done. I was going for I was kind of thinking about pansy colors when I picked these. Not that they're exactly pansy colors, but that was the palette I started with. I went through my stash. I picked out scraps I had or just full skeins, and I have a pretty good stash. Is this the back? Yes. Not that it really matters, but. So this is what I've got done, and yeah, boy, it's hard to show you in one screenshot of all this. It's gonna be a pretty good sized blanket. Or I could stop now and call it a shawl, but I won't. So I've got that done. I've got another couple of rows done and some rows that aren't put together. If I could even just do a goal of like 1 row this month, that would be something. I don't remember how many I'm supposed to make. Let me see here. And then there's a border that's added on. 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've probably got 7. So I'm like halfway. Yeah, maybe I'll make a plan, like how much I have to do per month-ish. Then I make it work, how much I have to do. But a plan might be good. So I want to keep moving this forward bit by bit and get back to it because it's so pretty and I would love to snuggle up under it. And so I thought it might be of interest to you to talk a little bit about how I choose colors, because some people are very comfortable with choosing color, but some people are very uncomfortable with choosing colors for their projects. If you're not comfortable choosing colors for projects, some things that you could do, things that I've done, just generally, if I see colors in a combination I like somewhere online, I save it to a Pinterest board that's like my color inspiration board. And then whenever I'm planning a project and I'm not sure what I want to go with, I'll check there and see if there's something that might get me started. So that would be the first thing, is just like notice things that you like and then save them. I use that for those 12 days felt ornaments, actually. When I started to deviate from color combinations that she'd chosen to try and pick my own, I went through my photos for inspiration and tried to come up with color combinations based on things that I'd liked. Another thing that works for me, at least with quilting, or that did, when, especially early on, is if I've got a fabric I really like that I'm either planning to use in the quilt or that I just like in general the colors in it, I'll pull fabrics that have the same colors in them. Sometimes they print on the selvage all the colors that are in that print. So that can be like an inspiration print that you don't even use in the quilt. You just pull other fabrics that have those exact colors, or you do use it in the quilt. And I've done that as well. In this case, I was just thinking about pansy colors, and I try to pull things that felt springy to me. And, lately I think it's just kind of whenever I plan a quilt now or a project, I don't really work well with just spontaneous, like I'm just going to start with something and then see what happens. I usually need a palette in advance. So I'll just start pulling fabrics I like. And then I usually put them in color order, red, orange, yellow, etc. And then I'll figure out, what's missing, try to mix lights and darks and mediums. Quilting fabric is hard because, most of what they print and most of what you're able to buy is medium and not dark or light. So, it's not that you can't get them. It's just that there isn't going to be as much. And so I have a lot of medium fabric, not as much light and dark. I really noticed it again when I was making this quilt and thinking about things I need to buy for my stash so that I have as much balance as possible. And that if I want something scrappy, if I want it to be scrappier, I need to have more of a selection of darks and lights because I have plenty of mediums. So that's kind of what I'm on the lookout for now as I'm planning fabric purchases, is looking for more light prints that I like and more dark prints that I like. So that's just a little bit about my color process. I really like all colors. And so, there's no color that I wouldn't put in something except, no offense, but I'm not a huge mauve fan. I think we can blame the 80s probably for that. I wouldn't ban it from a project, but I'm just, it's not my first choice of a pinkish color. Okay. So I will start working back on this project soon. My plans for March, so spring break, I'm going to hopefully go to a cross-stitch shop or two. There's one a little over an hour away that just recently changed ownership, and so I've been waiting for that to happen so that I could go check out the new shop. So there was no official open date. It was just sometime in January, the newsletter said, which was kind of vague. I'm probably safe now that it's March to go there. I don't want to, I'll call first and make sure, but I definitely didn't want to drive that far only to find that they weren't open. It's going to be some kind of cross-stitch cafe / art gallery. So it should be very interesting to see what's actually happening there. So I'd like to check out that place, and I might be going to Philly for a day this week. So I'm hoping to check out a needle workshop out that way. I'm hoping to do a bonus video, a spring break bonus video, depending on how much stuff I get done and how much time I have. If I can, I'll come back with another video that next week. Other plans for March. My quilts that I had sent to the long arm quilter, they're done. I'm picking them up this afternoon. So I'd like to bind one of them this month. I'm going to finish my wool Easter egg in March. My tiny polar bear sweater that I showed in my last video. Let's see. Oh, some things I'd like to start. I've got the Prairie Schooler rabbit run on order, and I'd like to start that. I've been waiting a long time for that design. I ordered like January 5th, like 7 designs from a shop. And I still don't have any of them, and it's now March 3rd. So that's been kind of frustrating. I understand what was going on that delayed it. It just was a really, really long time to wait for so many charts, and some of them were spring, and you know, it's fine. It's still spring. I just wish that maybe the shop had been a little bit more communicative sooner about what was going on, and maybe would have just sent me the things they had in stock and then sent the rest later. But they are doing that finally. So hopefully early next week I'll have rabbit run and can get that started. I'm hoping to get back to my 12 days felt ornaments and do the 3 French hens, as I said earlier in the video. Another thing that I want to do, so I think this idea of a birthday start is genius. And I think you cross stitchers are very smart to have thought of that. So I am all about rewarding myself for my birthday, and I picked out a chart that I think I will do. But I need to figure out the fabric that I'm going to use. And I've been wanting to try higher count fabrics. I've only gone up to 32 so far. So I'm going to try 36 and 40 count. But what I want to do is test that on something else and then decide what fabric I want. Maybe I don't want to stitch this huge piece. It's probably going to be for my birthday start on something that's higher if it's too hard. So I'm going to test. I've had this in my stash for forever. This is by Imaginating. Aren't those cute? I love that. So, and by the way, this, if you were like a brand new cross stitcher, this would be a great, probably any of theirs would be great, but this would be great because on the back it tells you how to read a cross stitch chart, hints, how to wash your stitching, how to work with your floss, how to do back stitching. It has diagrams of how to make a cross stitch correctly and how to make a back stitch. So that's pretty cool, I think. Especially if you were a beginner and you just didn't know what you were doing, then, you know, you wouldn't need anything more than this chart probably. So I've got a piece of 36 count that I ordered from 123 Stitch and a piece of 40. So I want to try both of those and then just do like an ornament on each one. Obviously there'll be different sizes. That doesn't matter. I just want to test it out and then see how I feel and see if I'm going to use either 40 or 36 count on my birthday start, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. It'll be the biggest thing I've ever stitched. Not that I stitch especially large things, but I'm excited about it. So I want to get the fabric sorted out before, my birthday's not for like a couple of months, so I got time. But I like to plan because anticipation is fun, right? So planning is part of the fun. That's actually like maybe more fun than the stitching. Yeah, so those are my plans for March. It's a lot. I want to start another set of towels too, so for weaving, and I'm going to put those on the loom this week as well. So I have a lot of plans, and I don't know how plausible it is that I can do them. I'm pretty tired at this point in the semester. Thank goodness for spring break. We're just over the halfway mark, but it'll be pretty busy from here on out, and I've got a retreat coming up in a month, which I'm really excited about. So I'll get a lot of sewing done. I take my quilting stuff to that, and I'll be teaching a crochet class there as well. But yeah, there's just a lot going on. So I don't know. I'm not holding myself very hard to this plan. It's just, as Vana said, I've got evolving ideas about what could happen in March, and I'm I'm not gonna sweat it. You know, I'll get done when I get done. I have to say that you guys have been so awesome and encouraging, and you've really motivated me to just, even when I sometimes don't want to work on things, to just keep going, because like I get to share it with you guys, and you guys are so supportive and awesome. So it's been really great. I've just been making a lot of progress and being very productive, and I have you guys to thank in part for that happening. Okay, so I guess that's all I have for today. If you hung on this long, it's a little bit longer than I usually do. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you soon. If not, I'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care.